Hey everybody, and welcome to our retro movie review for 2008's The Dark Knight. Stephen, a classic Christopher Nolan movie, not just a classic comic book movie this one, but just a classic movie in general, one of the definitive movies of the last decade. An outstanding performance from one particular actor, which we will get into later on in the review. Really a pioneering movie in many ways as well. It broke down the doors for the comic book genre and the Oscars, of course, with that posthumous win for Best Actor for the great and late Heath Ledger. What was your thoughts before you went to see this movie? I know you were lucky enough to actually pop along to the theatres and see it. I actually didn't see this one in the theatres, much to my eternal shame and regret. Was this something obviously armoured with the knowledge of the Batman Begins movie, which of course you didn't see in the theatres, that you were looking forward to more? Because I know you weren't looking forward to Batman Begins.
No, it's a strange experience, John, because you're right. My fingers were burnt with Batman and Robins, in 1997, and I didn't really want to go back to this franchise anytime soon. And I was so impressed with Batman Begins, but that's my right to talk about The Dark Knight. But that film, as I said in our previous movie review, was important for the setup of this film. This film didn't have to trace back to the origins of Batman and all the other stuff that goes, the way that Gotham City operates, etc. We were going right into a heist scene right away, which I think it was filmed on IMAX cameras. I'm pretty sure it was.
No doubt it was,
as I recall. I went to see this in the cinema, John. I think it was maybe in the first couple of days of its release. Highly anticipated because of the setup from Batman Begins at the very end, with the reveal of who was going to be the next villain.
Card.
I didn't have any concerns, obviously, with Heath Ledger's appointment to this character. Not like some people. I was reserved more than anything. I wouldn't say I was overly excited with the announcement he was going to be playing the Joker, but at the same time, I'm one of these people that will wait and see, and then I'll have something to say on the performance, and what a performance it was. But this was a cast. Most of them came back from Batman Begins, apart from obviously Rachel Dawes, the actress that played her, Katie Holmes, who was replaced with Maggie Gyllenhaal. But apart from that, everyone came back. Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Christian Bale, list goes on. Gary Oldman. But
as well. Fantastic addition. So just grew up on a great foundation.
And just Heath Ledger obviously was the sort of cherry on top of the cake, if you like. But I just think there's just something about this film, John. And I know obviously we'll round up things at the end of this review with our thoughts, but there's just something about this film that's got rewatchability. There's a lot going on in this film. Very busy. There's subplots, there's double bluffs. There's a heist going on. Always like a heist in a film anyway. Cinematography's something else which we'll get into. Amazing. We actually go out of Gotham once more for a brief moment in a sequence, which is probably one of my favourite parts of the film as well, which we'll talk about. But just overall, I was looking forward to this film so much. There's two films out this year. I think they were only months apart, maybe weeks apart actually, and that was this and the X-Files second film. Can't remember what it's called.
The Billy Connolly one. I can't recall what that one was.
Something about the truth. The truth is out there or something. I can't remember what it's called.
And that turned out to be slightly disappointing. Although it was still okay. If you're a fan of the X-Files and Monster of the Week episodes, then that was kind of what that was, if I do recall correctly. But Stephen, you're absolutely right. This movie was probably more anticipated than Batman Begins, because obviously coming off of a period of crapness, I want to say, with the previous Batman movies. Obviously I'm not going to include Batman Forever because Val Kilmer's Val Kilmer, but George Clooney and your man, whatever the hell he's called, Chris
O'Donnell,
just a shocking movie. It should be burnt out of existence. And then there was another one before, round about then as well, wasn't there? If my mind's not doing me a disservice, perhaps not. No, it was. I'm thinking about Batman Forever again. Doesn't really matter though, because obviously this movie had built on the success, as I did say, of Batman Begins, and that, as you did say, allowed it more freedom to just go right into the story. And what an intro it was, Stephen. I've says the bank heist, bank robbery intro, just this, the way that it was shot with all these different guys bickering amongst each other about who's going to, this guy's colluding to do this guy, and they're going to get more money if they do this and that. They're killing each other off one by one. And then the Joker, the way that he just casually is introduced into the movie in the midst of a heist, the bank manager as well, whose name completely eludes me at the moment, but he's a really good actor.
Yeah.
But he's an absolute gonk.
Yeah, there's something about the heist, John, that I like as well, because I think most of these sort of henchmen don't assume that the orchestrator is going to be in the sort of thick of it with them. They think he's going to be the puppeteer in the background orchestrating everything, where in fact he's actually amongst them, which is beautifully set up by the Joker. The way he set this up to eliminate his own guys so he's the only one left was brilliant. And
the line about the driver, the bus driver.
The bus driver,
that was fantastic. The way it comes through, he also kills him, boom. And his little parting shot, I can't recall exactly what the bank manager says to the Joker.
What do you believe in?
What do you believe in? I believe what doesn't kill you only makes you stranger. And he leaves, obviously, the grenade in his mouth.
Yeah.
It's attached to the bus. The bus abruptly just leaves the bank and it pops out the little part of the grenade. And
that's right.
He's terrified. He thinks it's all over. Turns out it's a little gas grenade. So he's playing with his emotions in his life, and he's just a joker. He loves the turmoil and just the frenetic nature of this life. I mean, there's a great quote later on in the movie about some people just like to watch the world burn, but that is this guy in an epitome. It's just summed up in the very first scene of this movie. He doesn't care about getting his hands dirty. He will mix with the Plebingtons, as you did say, Stephen. Another guy that doesn't mind getting his hands dirty as well, though, is one Jim Gordon. He's not yet the commissioner at this point, but he does get ghosted in a scene on the roof. He's looking for a conversation with Batman, but Batman's too busy off hunting down Scarecrow and some fake Batmen who are shooting people with guns and whatnot and kicking around with hockey suits on.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this more so not for its importance, because also when you see Cillian Murphy in a movie, it's always important, and certainly a great character like Scarecrow, but more for the picture it paints for Gotham. It's a very different place now because of the Batman.
Yeah.
He's changed things forever, as the Joker does say later on.
Yeah.
Criminals are very wary about going out and committing crimes. And it's a really dark and quiet landscape now, so that's why I mentioned that. Obviously, it's an important fact later on in the movie. The Joker comes in and he steps into that vacuum and just lets all hell unleash, really. What was your thoughts on that sequence? Of course, it's really nuanced because later on we get to see Fat Batman, the fake guy, in another scene, so there's things going on. Even there, he's playing beautifully with the plot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Batman's actions in Batman Begins has inspired people who believe that they can become what he is. You can't, you know. It's
not when you're that way.
No, and when you're not that rich either. But going back to that scene, I think it was like a car park scene, wasn't it? It was one of those multi-storey car parks. Having Scarecrow in there was very important because that's your link to the previous film. You know, it was only a cameo from Cillian Murphy. It's good enough because you know, I like him in anything he's in anyway. You know, and he's obviously Nolan's go-to as well with many of his sort of films. But yeah, it was just that link. Yeah, that's what was needed in this film. I always say this film sometimes feels like it's disconnected from the trilogy, although it's the middle part of the story. It's a strange one, but
it's another trilogy.
Yeah, it definitely is, John. But there's something just unique about this film that sort of separates it from the other two as well. Although they're obviously the characters keep it all together, but just having Scarecrow in there just for that sort of introduction. The other thing we realise as well is that Christian Bale, his voice has changed in this one. It's more, I don't know how to describe it, it's more gravelly and deep, and sometimes it's very hard to understand what he's saying. A lot of people had issues with this. Well, wait till you see the next film with the villain in that one, because that's even worse.
Yes. But I shoot a man.
Yeah, you know. So I thought it was good. It was a good setup. It was also I liked that line about I'm not wearing hockey pants or something like that as well. It's quite funny. So the humour was in there as well.
And his suit wasn't infallible either, Stephen, because of course he couldn't really turn around with that helmet.
The dogs as well.
And the dog ravages his arm. And also that highlights a fault in his suit. It's not as good as he thinks it is, and he also deals with that later on with Fox, Lucius Fox, I want to say his name is. See, you know, I said in the next little point, and also it highlights that there's different crime gangs in this city and they're all colluding in one way or the other. These are Russians. Also we get the Maronis, I want to say, later on. The Falcones were in the first one, but they're out of the picture by this point. I've said they're radiated money. That's just because obviously the major mobsters, the money's irradiated so they can find out where it's going and whatnot. Botched assassinations, that's of course the attempted assassination of Harvey Dent. I think he's at the trial with Rachel, and one of the mobsters tries to shoot him or something like that, and then also he ultimately gets off with it as well, so that highlights corruption still there. And this guy's here to combat it.
That courtroom scene, John, I'm not going to be able to think about that now without thinking about Al Pacino's speech from The Irishman. The knife thing, you know.
You charge a knife, you run from a gun.
You know, it's very similar.
It was.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's a chit chat between Bruce and Alfred at this point as well, and there's a whole array of things. You're right, Stephen, this movie is really dense. When I was outlining this guide for this review, it struck me how dense it is. There's so many little scenes that are in there. I don't think you could discard any of them. They're all equally important. They're laying down great character development. I think Alfred and Batman, and Alfred and Bruce in particular in this movie, there's some really cool scenes with them. Just conversations showing you that relationship, how he's built it up through the years with many Waynes, not many Batmans, as I think Steve Coogan says at one point when he was doing an impression. And then obviously the tenuous bond of trust that develops between Gordon and Dent. These guys they get off to a bad start. I don't think Dent likes Gordon. The fact that, well, not that he doesn't like Gordon, he doesn't like the fact that he is hanging around with corrupt policemen.
Yeah.
But then he kind of flips it and says, look, if I investigated every single police officer that's in the links, then you wouldn't have any people on your team as well. Something along those lines.
A lot of politics, John.
Yes, a lot of politics. But these two guys agree, form an unlikely bond. I think he gives them the warrants to go and search different banks and whatnot. But by this point, the money's already long gone. They've thrown it got it out the country to Hong Kong, to Lau, I think his name is.
Yep.
And then also we get this great scene. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on everything I've just said there, but we also get the double date scene as well, with that great line where he says, well, a guy that dresses up like a bat has clearly got issues.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, I love this about Batman, this double-sided nature of his personality. He's the vigilante by night, and then he's the playboy, chauvinistic billionaire by day. And it's just, I love that playing on the two.
Yeah.
And openly goading Rachel, because she also knows.
Well, she, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the other thing I like about this as well, at this point, Bruce he's kind of, unknown to Harvey Dent, he's kind of making a mockery of him at the early stages of their relationship, which obviously Rachel picks up on. She doesn't like it, you know. She's obviously built this relationship with Harvey, you know, in the time between Batman Begins and now, you know. And to be fair, I think Bruce, he doesn't seem too concerned about the future with Rachel. He always sees that in his head that they will be together one day once, you know, everything, you know, when I think it's when Gotham don't need Batman anymore. And I think that's why he's pushing Dent, you know. I think he sees him as the White Knight. I think that's what he portrays him as, you know, and he wants to set up a fundraiser for him, you know. I think Rachel was suspicious of that, you know, because I think she would automatically assume that Bruce would have, you know, some jealous factors, you know, creeping in. But I
think he was jealous at one point, but I think he realises at heart he is a good man.
Yeah, yeah.
And that he could perhaps, in lieu of Batman, be the guy that can save Gotham from corruption in a better way. He's not doing vigilante.
Yeah, inadvertently, you know, him and Rachel can be together.
Yeah.
So
if he gets out of the way, exactly.
Yeah.
If he moves out the way, he gets in and he's with Rachel. Gotham has its saviour. All is well with the world. Stephen, this next scene's probably my favourite in the whole movie. I'll take that back right away. It's not my favourite, but it's up there.
It's one of them, yeah.
It's one of my favourites. The Joker properly introduces himself, if I can speak. I have had an 8.5% beer today, and I'm feeling the effects, even though I like a drink. It's also the mobster scene. They're talking to Lau. He's revealed that the money is long gone, so Gordon and, I want to say, Ramirez are chasing shadows, essentially going to these banks and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it's Gamble slagging off Joker, saying he's kicking about with a cheap suit, and he comes in with that eerie laugh, and it's just an amazing scene. He says, and the suit isn't cheap, you should know, you paid for it.
Yeah.
And he's saying, do you want to see a trick with the pen, ta-da, and all of this, and there's so much going on in this scene, Stephen, and it just introduces us to the magnificence of this performance from one Heath Ledger. You do see it briefly in the opening shots, but this is a more full-on experience in the early stages of this movie. and he's doing magic tricks and whatnot, and calling Lau a squeal.
The introduction to the Joker in the bank heist scenes, John, he was the lead. You know, there was no intimidation from anyone else. He's walking into a room with the sort of top mobsters in Gotham, and he's not fazed.
No.
And he'll tell them, "You paid for this suit," so. You know, he's not afraid.
It was the line though, Stephen, about I know why you have your little daytime group therapy sessions.
Yeah.
And again, that's about that power vacuum that Batman has created.
Yeah.
He's changed things. There's no going back.
You know, the solution was to kill the Batman, as he said. You know, and one of them actually questions him, if it was that easy, why have you not done it? And his response was perfect. It's something that stayed in my head. As you know, if you're good at something, never do it for free. This is what this guy's all about. You know, and we'll find out obviously as we go on in doing this review, John, what the Joker is all about, you know, because there's some contradictions with sort of his past and how he got scars and stuff like that, which we'll obviously get into, but there's just something so complex about this character anyway. Heath Ledger kind of notched that up in this film for me. I'd never seen the Joker played like this before. I always loved Jack Nicholson's portrayal of this character, but there was just something, glad you're dead, you know, and I just think there's something. There was nothing comic book about him, you know. He was a total anarchist, you know, and this scene sets it up well, how to take this character and this incarnation of the character as well. It was a great scene. You know, obviously Michael J. White's in there. You know, he's sort of the mouthpiece for one side. We're obviously introduced to Eric Roberts playing Maroni as well. So it's a nice setup, you know. It's just great because, you know, further down the line we're going to find out, you know, you can't have a hold over this character. You just there's nothing. No. You can't threaten him with anything. You know,
he doesn't care.
He doesn't care about money in it. We'll find that out as well when we're, you know, further down this review. But it was a good setup, John. It was a really good setup. It was an intimidating scene as well. But there's just something about his exit as well. You talk about his entrance, the way he kicks that door to exit that kitchen was fantastic.
Dangling the grenades at every point. Just complete control of the room, Stephen. He's a solitary figure with all these big top guys, as you did say. What a second proper introduction to this character. And it really does get the anticipatory juices flowing for the rest of the movie. We then have Dent Gordon and Batman meeting on the rooftop. They're having
their group therapy,
Yeah, they're having their group therapy session only at night. And you speak about humour, Stephen, but obviously the scene where I think he asks him how... I've actually wrote it down. If I can get him to you, can you get him to talk? I'll get him to sing. How will you get him back anyway? After having a little conversation with Gordon, he looks back. Batman's gone. Yeah. And it's the way that Gary Oldman says he does that. Yeah. Or something along those lines. Disappears. That's a great little, again, sprinkling of humour into a famously darkish movie. Yeah. Obviously, what they're talking about is Lau over in Hong Kong and try to retrieve this guy, get him back to make him squeal, as the Joker does allude to. I know a squeal when I see one. And points to him. Doesn't even have to say it. He's absolutely bang on the money.
Yeah, he says Batman has no due restriction. You know,
absolutely bang on.
And it is. He's right.
The guy has had. He's a bit of a. I can't recall what the name is. He's a predictor. Is Heath Ledger's Joker? Yeah. He's got his finger on the pulse. He's more than ahead of the curve. He's called a lot of things which have went on in recent weeks and months to an absolute T, so we'll get into that as well shortly. Stephen, obviously we do get the Hong Kong sequence. You touched upon it. We have a sort of heist in the middle of this movie. It's quite incredible, actually. It goes out of Gotham. It's like a different movie completely. Yeah. It's almost like a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie.
It's got that feel to it.
Yeah, it's like they're scaling down glass windows, and obviously Fox is going in and laying down the foundation for the plan. He's putting the mobile phone in, which is really important for the end of the movie, because he's using this sort of network sonic thing to
the technology
lay out give the layout of the building so Batman can go in and get a Lau, and that has ramifications for later on in the movie, because he's saying it's a model and whatnot, but it's a really cool again scene that's just amazingly sculpted together from Nolan. It shows you what the guy can do, laying down genres within genres, doing different things with the genre. You spoke about Joker being a different take, doing distinctly different things from previous ones. I really liked this scene. I loved the way he dealt with him, and the way he obviously jumps out the window and just hooks it right onto his plane. It's just a magnificent scene. What was your thoughts on that scene?
It's one of my best scenes, John, in the film. One of the best sequences. It's probably the first time we see Batman without the cape as well, other than obviously when you think he's trying it on for the first time in Batman Begins. He doesn't need it for this, obviously, this plan. But it's great to see that technology in there as well. It gives Lucius Fox a role in this film. You know, it was more like the sort of what was the character in Bond, Q or M? I can't remember what one. Q is it?
Yeah, Ben Whishaw.
That's what Lucius Fox was in that first movie. In this one, he's got a bit more to do. He gets a wee bit more to do in The Dark Knight Rises as well.
Yeah.
But in this one, there's obviously a moral dilemma with this character as well later on in the film with this technology as well.
And which, so, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, but I think the setup of this and the technology as well at this point, I think it actually gives a sort of X-ray vision of the whole building setup and where people are positioned, and it's perfect for Batman's vision, you know, through his sight, you know. But the escape was fantastic, just the way that it was timed. It was just perfect, you know.
Yeah.
And it's one of my most favourite sequences in the trilogy. It's something that just stands out. It's that landscape, the way it's shot as well. You've got the sort of camera panning around the skyscraper.
Yeah.
You know, that glass skyscraper. It's just a fantastic shot.
And it's all grounded in realism, Stephen. Once again, that's the one thing I love about this Nolan trilogy, the fact that a lot of the gadgetry, technology, the things that happen are actually grounded in real life.
Yeah.
It's not this sort of, God, what's the word you would use? I don't know, just campy. That's the best thing I can come up with.
Far-fetched.
Yeah, it's not far-fetched, it's grounded in realism. I like that grittiness of this trilogy. Also, that has real, I keep saying it, ramifications for the movie, because they bring this guy back. He squeals. He initially doesn't want to, but he does finally squeal, and I think he's threatened with a county jail or something like that. Can't recall exactly. I've not seen it in a number of years. I'm doing this off memory and a guideline. But also all the mobsters all get thrown in jail, and it causes a bit of anarchy, and then that sets the Joker's plan off. He's like, he's stepped too far, I'm going to deal with this guy, get this money for myself. And I think he uses the fat fake Batman in the video, and this is the first time you see the sort of, I mean, we've seen elements of it. He did kill a guy with a pencil previously, but the sort of scary undertone of this guy when he's dealing with this fat guy, you think it's all kidology, then he's not listening to him, and he shouts, "Look at me," and then he obviously deals with him, and
John,
he's
I can
laughing
remember
hysterically.
I can remember that line in the cinema, and I can remember some people's reactions in the cinema being absolutely, you know, jumping, you know, just with the "look at me" line, because it just came out of nowhere, and the way he delivers it as well, with aggression and anger and, you know, just nastiness. Because at this point, the pencil scene, you're right, John, that was bad enough, but he played it off like a joke, as if it didn't bother him. And
obviously, Stephen, that does lead to absolute carnage. We have the Commissioner in this movie, whose name McKenna eludes me.
Loeb,
Commissioner Loeb. He dies via
Judge Cirillo. Yeah,
he dies via poisoning. She gets blown up in the car. I want to say there's chaos happening. And in the midst of this, we have the fundraising scene as well, getting off to a start. Dent and Rachel are mingling, are a little bit uneasy. He's not happy with sort of being given the limelight. He just thinks he's doing his job. Really.
Yeah, I love when films do this, when they sort of split between different scenes. Yeah. You've got Gordon obviously try to prevent the Commissioner from drinking. I think it was whiskey or something like that. You know, you've got the judge, his car getting blown up, and at the same time, I think Bruce is in his penthouse at this point.
Yeah, I think he lands via the helicopter.
Yeah, and I think he's I can't remember what he's doing. He's breaking down one of those guns, isn't he? And he's getting into the sort of safe house, and because
he chokes out Dent.
Yeah,
puts him in the safe house.
That's right. Yeah. Because Rachel says, "What the hell are you doing?" You know, and it's all happening very quickly. You know, and it's one of the best scenes in the film.
And Zimmer's score in this scene is absolutely magnificent. Stephen adds an air of malevolence to the actual scene. You talk about Joker scenes. I think this could be the standout outside the interrogation scene, which we'll get into. This could be the standout Joker scene. Michael Caine, of course, famously hadn't seen Heath Ledger up until this point, and he walked in on set, full costume, full acting performance. First time we seen him, we actually get a fright.
I can imagine.
We Are Tonight's entertainment. He comes in, he's clutching the glass and whatnot. Just an absolute psychopath, Stephen, really. I actually don't know if I've missed a scene here where Gambo gets done in. I think I have.
There is, John. I think it's a very small scene. It's really just to turns the tables more than anything. It is the scene with obviously the snooker cue getting broken in half, and basically Joker is setting us up for his men to fight amongst themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a good setup, John, because this is the start of it. You know, it's the mind games from the Joker that's sort of setting it up for the sort of bigger payoff later on in the film. But he took a dislike to Gamble, obviously, from the kitchen scenes, because he knew this guy's going to be trouble. He's going to be. He doesn't seem to be intimidated by me, so I'll deal with him in another way. I'm going to get his men to fight each other from within, and he does it well.
And Steve, we also have that first scene where he's speaking about how he got his scars, and he says, I think it was his father was always telling him why so serious, so he cut his face.
Yeah, and it replicates obviously in the penthouse scene as well.
Yeah, in the penthouse scene he also speaks to Rachel. Very intimidating scene. He explains once again why he got the scars. It's his wife. It's a different story. Shows you the guy's absolutely batshit crazy. He's changing his backstory to suit himself. He's an absolute lunatic. I always loved the scene where he grabbed her and he smashed the glass is smashed, and Batman obviously says let her go. Very strange choice of words, I think he says.
Yeah.
And he lets her go, and obviously he dives out. Yeah. Later on at that bit where he says the way you flung yourself after her, I really thought you were Dent. But it's just an amazing sequence. That's just, again, you spoke about Pacino in that courtroom sequence in The Irishman. That's what Ledger's like in this scene. He's the star of the show.
Yep.
He's almost like an actor on a stage putting on a performance. All the other people are just standing watching him.
Yeah.
Absolutely magnificent. It just typifies the character again. He's crazy. He's absolutely relentless, really. He'll do whatever the hell he needs to do to get to Dent. Of course he fails because Batman's there, but superb. Stephen, after that we I think I've actually just speak about the Joker as a whole in this movie. I mean, the performance, what can you say? Can you add anything that hasn't already been added to Ledger's magnificent performance? A lot of people thought it was, how shall I put it, tacky, giving him the Oscar after he died. They thought that he wouldn't get it if he hadn't passed away, perhaps, that they were just giving him that because he passed away, essentially. Like the same people who says it about Lennon when he was shot dead, that he wouldn't have got the #1 album spot if he hadn't died. I think these people are idiots. I think it was the standout performance of the year by a country mile.
It's a pointless argument, isn't it? Because we'll never know, and we don't really want to know. You know, the fact of the matter is, it was a wonderful performance. I can't remember who he was up against.
I can't remember either.
I think Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man might have been in there. I'm not sure. You know, I might be wrong.
It may have been.
But I do remember at the time thinking, you know, this is one hell of a performance. Certainly, it took me by surprise. As I said, you know, I wasn't really going in determined I was going to hate this performance and hate this actor playing this legendary role. You know, I went in with an open mind and came out blown away just with his performance. You're right, you know, not a lot of actors can do this, you know, where they own a whole scene, you know, with the talent that's surrounding them as well. You've got Michael Caine in there, you've got Christian Bale, obviously, you know, Maggie, yeah, exactly, you know, but for some reason, they're all just side players at this point.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's focused on his performance, and rightly so.
He's one of the great antagonists, even in DC Comics, and when it's done right like this, it just is a sight to behold. It's just what he did, bringing the little nuances, the tics, like the druggy tics and whatnot, the licking of the lips, the combining two different voice styles. I think Tim Waits was one, if I remember correctly. I don't know if that's right. And there was another one in there. And just the way he combined it, you actually go back and watch these guys, and he's absolutely nailed it.
Can you imagine having those scars, John, the amount of saliva that would be coming out the sides?
That'd be brutal.
Ledger's picked up on that, you know, he's picked up on the fact, you know, I would have to be moving my tongue about quite a bit, try to make sure, you know, I'm getting all this right. And it was just one of those things that most people probably wouldn't think about. You know, his commitment to this role as well has been put in question, you know, since his sad passing. And a lot of people linking his death to this performance. You know,
it was a tragedy, really.
Yeah, it was.
It was mixing.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
I think
accident.
one too many sleeping pills or something. It
you
was
know,
just a complete
Michael
accident.
J. White was interviewed on Collider, I think it might have been.
Yeah.
You know, last year I think it was, or 2 years ago.
I remember
you know,
it. Yeah, I remember watching it.
You know, I wouldn't say he was best friends with Heath Ledger, but he spent time with the guy on set. You know, and from his point of view, you know, this guy was loving life. You know, he had a young daughter. You know, and he was loving this role. He was, you know, he was going full method on it. You know, and just loving life. You know, it's just
but snapping out of it in between takes, having a joke and whatnot. So not a guy that was spiralling into the character and couldn't get out of it. I think a lot of people seem to have this misconception that Joker gets into a character's head. They were doing it with Joaquin as well at the Oscars. This guy, he's not come out of character. He's still the Joker. No, he's not. He's just a guy that's into himself. Yeah. He's a very introverted guy, is Joaquin. Stephen, look, I mean, the other thing I would say, the face paint. I always loved this about this movie. He's sparkling. It's full face paint. As the movie goes on, obviously he takes it off at one point, but it seems to degrade as his actual mentality seems to degrade with it.
Yeah.
He becomes more and more annoyed with Batman. This guy ain't going away. Although he says he completes him, it starts to. You can see it weighing on his mind, and it seems to be visually represented by the face paint.
Yeah.
Obviously, the parade sequence afterwards, another incredible. I mean, the movie's just littered with amazing sequences, but the parade sequence where he tries to kill the mayor, he doesn't accidentally, shoots Commissioner Gordon at this point. He fakes his death. There's all sorts of things going on with this. I want to say there's Lamborghinis in this. I don't know if that's correct at all. Maybe a bike, maybe a motorbike in actual fact. Obviously Bruce Wayne's going to the apartment. There's snipers getting shot at him. There's all sorts of chaos going on.
That's right, yeah.
Fantastic scene. The music. Obviously Joker's at the front.
He's not got his makeup.
Not got his makeup on. It looks weird. Very, very strange. Then you've got David Dastmalchian as well after this on the run. Schizo. Having his scene with obviously Eckhart as Harvey Dent. And you can see little elements of craziness in Dent as well. He's not this goody two shoes. He has got that edge to him as well.
Joker's plan, John. It's the Joker's plan.
He's flipping the coin.
He's tempting him over to his sort of way of thinking, you know, and it seems to be working. And you're right, you know, that whole interrogation scene to Dent, that was fantastic. Obviously Batman has to pull him out of that, you know, and don't base it on the flip of a coin, you know. And then we obviously get Batman wrecking Maroni as well, you know, dropping him from a great height. You'll not kill me. What's that? You'll not kill me from here. I'm banking on it or something like that.
From one criminal or something to another, you should really think about what height you're doing this at, because I can't dive from the fall. I'm banking on it or something along those lines. The way he drops him and he lands on his feet, fantastic. You can just feel it. It was like Batman Begins. I think there was a scene in Batman Begins with a burrito or something like that. Maybe actually by the Dark Knight Rises.
No, I think you're right, John. It was Batman Begins. It was Gordon's. It was Gordon's sort of partner. It went for the falafel, wasn't it? And he pins him up. He pins him upside down, doesn't it, in the rain?
And he doesn't get it. It winds me up.
Swear to me. That's that one, isn't it? Yeah, it's Batman Begins.
Yeah, so it's kind of an echo in that as well.
It reminds me of that, yeah.
Yeah, no, as I did say, David Dastmalchian, what an actor this guy is. He's went on to appear in Ant-Man and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's just phenomenal. He plays the absolute schizo to perfection. He's laughing his head off. And then, as you did say, Batman comes in and steps in his way. He says, look, this guy's from Arkham. This is the type of mind that the Joker preys on.
Yeah.
Killing him won't do any good. Something along those lines.
You're right, John. Yeah.
Paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But that leads us to, as you did say, Maroni's saying, find me Joker and whatnot. He's like, look, no one's going to give him up for you now. He's even more unhinged than you are. And that leads to, as I did say, but obviously Joker then starts calling out Batman. He wants him to reveal his identity, his alter ego, his real self.
Yeah.
Or he's going to start killing people, something along those lines. And then also that leads to some conversations with Alfred. Alfred's saying to him, look, the Gotham still needs Batman and whatnot. He's trying to convince him not to do it. He knows he'll lose everything if he does out himself. He's got conversations with Rachel as well.
Yeah.
And then also she flip-flops. She does that a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
When Dent then hands himself in and says he's Batman, she's going off at Bruce for not handing himself in. So you can't really win. She's leaving envelopes saying she's marrying Harvey anyway and whatnot. There's all sorts going on in this scene. I don't know what you make about that, Stephen. I don't know if you've got anything to add to it, really.
I never thought for a moment, you know, that Bruce would hand himself in, John. It doesn't fit with the character or anything like that. You know, this isn't like Iron Man, where he announces himself as Iron Man at the end of the film or anything like that. You know, well, if it was him playing it, then everyone would figure out who it was anyway, because, you know, as much as I like George Clooney as an actor, certainly not in that film.
No, he's just playing George.
You know, there was just, I mean, there is a bit of flip-flop, you know, from Rachel.
She's an annoying character.
Yeah,
just a winds me.
There is, there was. It's just the way she was written in this film. To be honest with you, she was fodder at the end. Obviously, that's not a spoiler or anything like that. But I loved it, and I'll tell you why. And it's not because I'm a sadist or anything like that. Because she was so convinced that she was going to be okay. And there's that sort of second, that look when she realises Batman's where Dent is. And it's that realisation. Yep, exactly. And it's just it's a split second. And Maggie Gyllenhaal's reaction is, she does it really well. But I remember when I was watching that in the cinema, I actually did have a little laugh.
You got to have that side, Stephen. That's what makes people tick. Every human's got it.
The arrogance of this woman.
Yeah, she's so arrogant. The way she was like,
full
"Don't worry, Harvey, you'll be all right.
Yeah,
we'll come and get you." No, you won't, because you're dying, and he's going to survive. But I think he'd rather die when you see what he becomes. Stephen, we have that little rat as well in the Wayne Enterprise. He's trying to threaten, I think it's Fox, about outing Bruce Wayne.
He stumbles across some applied science. I think it's some.
It's the Tumblr.
Yeah, there's a few discrepancies in the accounts, isn't there? Yeah.
And he tries to threaten him, and I think the quote Fox says.
Yeah, there's a great scene, that you think anyone in that kind of position, Fox being in that position would be very defensive and, what do I do here? How do I handle this? But he handled it perfectly by saying, so let me get this straight. You want to threaten, you want to sue the guy, you want to blackmail him, I think it is. I can't remember, I'm paraphrasing as well, John. But you want to blackmail the guy that you're saying is going out as a vigilante at night and taking on mobsters.
Dressed as a bat. You think that'd be smart? Good
luck with that, and it's just Morgan Freeman, it's just, there's something about this guy, he's just another guy that owns the scene, and he was perfect for this role, absolutely perfect, and I'm glad they gave him more to do in this film as well, just like I said earlier, John, because you get someone like Morgan Freeman and he can't be just your sort of gadgets guy, he's got to have more, and scenes like this are made for him.
Absolutely, Stephen. Look, the scene that comes after it is right up there as well for me, just the extended sequence as a whole, because it does lead into that sort of which side is he going to save, and that great interrogating sequence. I'm combining about 5 different words there. Doesn't matter. Obviously, Dent does hand himself in. He says that he's Batman. He gets whisked off in a police convoy. The Joker starts attacking them with RPGs and everything and whatnot. Batman zooming about in that incredibly cool bike, which seems to change the tyres when it goes sideways and whatnot. Just an incredible, amazing sequence that you've got. I think a wire or something with the truck. The truck flips over. The Hans Zimmer score. Balls to the ball action. He tries to goad Batman, hit me, and he swerves him. So again, he's not willing to break his code of ethics to kill this guy. And it's that ongoing, unstoppable force makes it a immovable object or something.
It's a great line, isn't it, John? But again, we're getting to see the landscape of, I want to say, Boston or Chicago. I can't remember this filmed. I think it's New York, this one, is it not? No, that's the third one, John, because I was going to actually say this is another reason that bugs me about Dark Knight Rises, why they switch cities for this, because there's something condensed about Boston/Chicago. Apologies for anyone that's there. But I've never been, so I don't know, but it's certainly...
I think it's Chicago. Boston's very condensed.
Yeah, so I think I think it is, John. I think it's the one where they paint the river green, isn't it? So
Philadelphia.
So I'm not sure. Listen, we're not experts in geography, as you can tell.
Not America.
My point is, there's something great about this city and the way it looks, in the first 2 films, and there's something missing in that third film using New York. I don't know what the idea of it was. There was obviously logistical reasons for it. Chris Nolan had to make decisions. Perhaps maybe, the sort of locations weren't available, on set dates. I don't know, but there's just something great about this sequence. I love the old architects, and this city they're using, what shall I say now, and just this whole sequence. I think it's like a butcher's sort of truck or something like that, isn't it? It says Slaughter, but he sort of spray paints out the S, so it says laughter. It's very clever, it's very subtle as well, and there's just something about that truck flipping over as well. It was just the way that the bat bike or whatever it's called, bat cycle or whatever it's called, it just weaves in and out to and then I think he's got to go around all the lampposts as well to sort of kind of anchor it, isn't it?
Scene. Yeah.
But it's fantastic. And I think the actual bike comes to a point at the end of the road where it has to do that flip thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so quick as well, you know.
It's the one bit of technology in this whole trilogy that isn't really grounded in reality, although they actually did create one in full practical, but there's no way those tyres are doing that flip thing. Stephen Wally Pfister, the director of photography, I mean, this scene's incredible cinematography wise. The whole movie is really, but he's just a tour de force. This guy's worked with Christopher Nolan numerous times. He worked on The Prestige, Batman Begins, Inception, another incredibly short movie, so fast paced and action heavy. That guy's just done a stupendous job. I'm actually not meant to be talking about technical stuff until the end, but look, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, it
Who
applies
cares?
here,
Need a bit of anarchy in this movie. We are talking about the great Joker performance full of anarchy, so why not fling it in to the actual review as well?
Yeah.
Stephen, obviously we have in this sequence, we do have the Joker being taken to the police station. It's all part of a greater plan. This is another thing I love about this character. It's just the fact he's a puppet master.
Yeah.
In the absolute extreme, he plays everybody around. He's a grand chess master meets
He's like
puppet
Palpatine.
master.
He really is.
Everything's done for a reason. He has felt every single thing out. He's always a step ahead at every point. He's got the phone cut into that big fat guy's body. That was gruesome, incidentally. But that interrogation scene, the first time that Heath Ledger and Christian Bale actually acted beside each other in this movie, Jesus Christ, I would have loved to have been a fly in the wall in this scene, behind the scenes watching this, because it's just absolutely magnificent. And as I did say previously, the Joker being ahead of the curve with that line about them casting them out like a leper. When the chips are down, these civilised people, they'll eat each other. It's a bad joke. Things like
buy
that.
up all the toilet paper.
It's all been proven, right? You're right. Toilet paper, people buying about 50 tins of hand gel, 50 tins of plum tomatoes. They're absolutely crazy people. And he's right, civilised people, they're only as good as the system allows them to be, something along those lines. It's a great sequence. Never go for the head. It makes the victim all fuzzy. They can't feel the next hit. And then the laughs, the little ticks, him laughing as Batman's about to punch him. You have nothing with all your strength to do, nothing you can do to me or something like that.
It's a frustrating scene for Batman.
He's in complete control.
That is, and basically it's a setup for, the Joker to make Batman make a choice on that night, and he's going to break all the rules that he set up himself. He's going to become basically what the Joker is. He's going to make a selfish decision, which is obviously going to be, he's going to go after Rachel, and Dent and Gordon and that are going to go after Dent, to sort of obviously divide and conquer, because they can't be in two places at the same time. But it's a great setup from the Joker, and that whole interrogation scene was fantastic. The way that Batman pins that chair up to the door, basically not letting anyone stop him doing what he wants to do to this guy, and he soon realises he can't do anything. It doesn't matter how much he hurts him, doesn't matter how much he intimidates him, he's not going to break this guy. This guy is mentally strong. As much as people think he's a crazy person, he's probably the strongest person mentally in this film, for will and determination. You see it when, Batman and Gordon that go off to save Dent and Rachel. You see it when he's left alone with that other copper. I think it's Gordon's partner.
An absolute fiddle.
And basically, do you want me to tell you who were cowards or something like that?
I actually know more about your friends than you do. Because in the last moments they reveal everything about their personality.
All I had to do was don't listen to him.
I just wanted my call.
And he got his call. That you're right. That was gruesome, John. The way that was set up, the stitches in that guy's stomach was absolutely horrendous. The way it lit up. Because at first I wasn't sure what it was either. It was a mobile phone, wasn't it? Connected to a bomb or something like that, But it was, as you say, it was set up,
Stephen, you're speaking about him being sort of the headstrong guy in this. But you also see that as well, that he's got nothing to do. He can do nothing to the Joker that will change his mind. See that in the previous scenes. I don't know if I spoke about it, where the cash is burnt. I don't know if that's came yet.
No, John, you're right. That was previous, but again, that's him showing the mobsters. There's not a price that you can bargain with me with. I'll burn all this money, and he does burn all the money right in front of him to show I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this for the fun. And
that also plays into that great quote that Alfred says to Bruce: "Some men just want to see the world burn." And it's a sort of eureka moment for Bruce. It's the first time he's come up against a guy like this. It doesn't have a real motivation financially.
No.
He's looking engrossed at the photo of the Joker, and he realises what he's dealing with at that point. Well, not enough, because he actually does try to physically coerce him, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But Stephen, obviously, as we did say, that scene's amazing, where he goes off to try and save Rachel, and he obviously turns up to Harvey Dent's location.
It's just the way she's so sure.
Yeah.
You know, and the way she's, you know, don't worry, Harvey, you know, I'll talk you through this, you know, everything will be okay. Really in the back of her mind, she's going, oh, I'm going to be okay, thank Christ, you know. And when, you know, obviously Bruce doesn't show up at her door, you know, it's total reverse, you know. It's a case of what, you know, what the hell's happened, you know.
Yeah.
But that was deliberate by the Joker,
yeah.
you know, he set it up that way.
Did he swap the addresses? I can't recall.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
He swapped them.
Yeah, he's a nefarious little shit. But Stephen, obviously, he manages to corrupt the White Knight of Gotham as well.
Yeah.
Because in doing what he did, he's not only ripped out his heart emotionally by killing Rachel, but he's obviously gave him the sort of black and white side. The side's completely ripped off and just gnarly. And that plays into the actual coin as well. I mean, he flipped the coin, but it was, I think, it was a fake coin.
Yeah.
Both sides were heads.
Yeah.
When that happens, it becomes bloodied on one side, and that reflects the change in morality for this guy. He goes from pure white-hearted guy to a sort of black and white.
One of the concerns I had, John, when I read the sort of synopsis of this film, you know, prior to its release, was, of course, having too many villains in the one film. Yeah. You know, I knew that obviously Cillian Murphy was coming back. I didn't realise at the time how big his role was going to be. Obviously the big one was obviously Heath Ledger's Joker, but also thrown in you know, Harvey Dent in there, Two-Face. I was concerned, I'll be honest with you, I was concerned that perhaps they were maybe oversaturating the film with too many villains. But again, it was set up brilliantly. You know, I don't think we got enough of Two-Face, to be honest with you. You know, that it was more of a Harvey Dent film, this, rather than Two-Face. We really only get to see this downfall of this character at the closing sort of, you know, maybe the final third of the film, which was enough, I think. You know, it was enough in hindsight when you think back to it, you know, because this film was about the Joker.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen, and just about that sort of corruption thing going on in the undercurrent of this movie, where everything's corruptible, really. Obviously, that amazing sequence in the hospital, he just blows the hospital up as well. He threatens it at one point, I think.
Yeah.
Says, I'm going to blow a hospital up. Doesn't specify which one, so they're going off hunting. There's chaos going on. I think this little squealer bitch who's wanting out Batman's doing something as well at this point, diverting police attention.
Yeah.
He strolls in, he's got a full nurse costume. He has a little one, back and forth conversation. I think he flips the coin, and we realise that he's got the lucky side because he strolls out.
Yep.
Dent goes away. I think he kills Maroni's men or something like that. He flips the coin again. He's full cycle. And then we get that scene with Joker. He's hitting the detonator. He's a little kid throwing a tantrum. Yeah. And it blows up behind him.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. He doesn't even turn round, I don't think. I think he just keeps walking on.
No.
And it's just a shot of him, the paint's move.
There is a genuine sort of jump scare from Heath Ledger. I don't think he realised how close he was to the explosives, John, but it's an amazing sequence, you know, and just the way he's dressed up as well with the nurse's uniform on. This guy is just...
He's a crazy bitch.
He's just beyond help, you know.
He's beyond... As he does say to Batman shortly in the movie, as I did allude to previously, an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Of course, Joker is the immovable object. He set up a little social experiment, Stephen. Again, this finale, I love finales like this. We were speaking about Civil War. Was it Civil War? It was Civil War, where it was multi-perspective. Was that the Winter Soldier? I'm losing the plot here. I don't know. It
was Civil War.
Civil War, multi-perspective stuff going on. You've got Gordon, and you've got Dent, and then you've got Batman with also Joker, and you've got these people, the prisoners and the normal people on the boats. One of them going to blow up. And I loved that experiment because it did play into humans' darkest sort of recesses. Will the ultimate good, sort of the purported good people, do the unthinkable, whilst the prisoners who are deemed absolute shits, they are not want to blow up the other people. It was incredible. I'm getting all muddled up.
I'll tell you something, John. It's a great experiment, but would it work in real life? No. One of the ships would have blown up right away, and it would have been the prisoners. I can guarantee that. That's the way humans act. Yeah. You know, I'm not a cynic in any way, you know, but it's a great setup. It really does sort of try, you know, the sort of what would you say? You know, it's just the way it's set up. You don't really know how it's going to go, to be honest with you.
And it just plays into that undercurrent, Stephen, that he's doing in the movie.
And I don't think Bruce Wayne knows how it's going to go either. You know, I think there's a bit of wishful thinking for him. You know, it pays off in the end, obviously, because you know everyone stands together. But if you're asking me if that would happen in real life, no, they'd all be fighting over that detonator to blow up the other ones. They certainly would.
Yeah, Stephen, it's just like Batman, and I don't know what you'd call it, microcosm. It's probably the word I'm looking for. But it's all about morality and juggling things like that around, and it was just a great scene. It was a great ending. Obviously, Joker's hanging upside down, and I don't want to kill you.
Yeah.
What would I do without you? You complete me.
I think we're going to be doing this forever. That's what he says.
Yes.
You know, it's such a poignant line now. You know, you think of obviously what happens afterwards with the actor. You know, but it's a great scene. You know, I'm glad they never killed the character off in the film. They could have easily have done that, John. You know, it would have been for convenience sake, they could have done that. You know. Obviously what it did leave was, you know, the anticipation that there might be archival footage slotted into the Dark Knight Rises, which obviously sadly wasn't there.
Yeah, there was footage, you know. Sadly, I think it was in the Arkham.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to disrespect the family and the estate by putting it in. And look, they've just derided that movie because everyone would have been looking for Joker, and Bane would have been overlooked, and obviously Talia al Ghul would have been overlooked. Obviously, Batman does the ultimate sacrifice at the end. He takes the fall essentially for Dent's actions, makes himself the bad guy, and that has ramifications for the last movie as well.
Dent's he's got Gordon's family, hasn't he? Yeah,
he's wanted to kill, I think, his son or something, because he blames him. Says he's morally at fault for the death of Rachel and whatnot. Wants to kill Batman. I think the fall or something. He disappears, or he slinks off. Batman's hurt, but he does take the fall. I think Gordon lets him go away. He has a little interaction with his son as well. Makes some comment about his. Can't even remember
why are they chasing him? Yeah,
why are they chasing him?
Because he can do it. He can withstand that kind of pursuit. You know, and because he has to. And
that plays back to the Alfred line earlier on in the movie as well with Rachel. He's taking the fall because he can take the fall. He can become the bad guy, and he's got the shoulders for it essentially. Yeah. Stephen, standout performances and characters in this movie. Who is your standout performer in this movie? I mean, it's a stupid question to ask, really, isn't it? It's Heath. Let's be honest.
John, listen, you're stating the obvious. Yeah, of course it's him. You know, but you're talking about a film that's got so many big name stars in this. You know, and he stands out. Obviously, he does. You know, and it's not a case of you know, the sad passing of Heath Ledger or anything like that. You know, even if he survived, you know, 2008 and went on to make other great films. You know, this was the you know, he did Brokeback Mountain, obviously, a few years before this, you know, so we knew what kind of calibre of actor he was. You know, we've seen him in 10 Things I Hate About You, A Knight's Tale, that kind of thing, you know, kind of wacky comedies. But I think, you know, he really turned the screw with Brokeback Mountain, you know, and he upped his game in this. You know, it's so sad that we'll never know, obviously, what would have became of this actor, you know, but in this film he is a standout. There's just something about certain actors that can just sort of own the scene, certainly in this one, you know, and this is a guy that was up against Christian Bale, for Christ's sake, you know, who's an amazing actor, one of my favourite actors. For me it definitely is Heath Ledger. Yeah,
Stephen, the other standout would also be Bale. I mean, Bale's just incredible, really. The guy always ups the standard of any movie that he's in just by demanding a certain level of professionalism behind the scenes. He's got this bad rap, I'm going to say, not rep. Yeah. Just having a beer. Just now my voice is about to go as well, 2 seconds. He has this bad rap, there you go, for being a sort of egotistical shit. He's a little bit temperamental behind the scenes, but I don't think that's true. There was that one moment, with someone breaking his concentration.
Terminator Salvation,
Yeah, and he's right. They shouldn't be making noises. When the guys are acting, they're there to do a job. Shut the hell up. It was like, I keep going back to John Lennon. Lennon in that Imagine documentary where someone dropped a reel in the middle of a take. It's not on, really. No. That's not Christian, that's the other people's faults. Stephen, obviously, Aaron Eckhart, fantastic performance as Harvey Dent, Two-Face as well. And Gary Oldman's just, I love Gary Oldman, really. It's just magnificent.
It's a solid cast.
Yeah, it is a solid cast, and he's the moral heart of this movie, not Harvey Dent as he likes to portray in it. It's actually good old Commissioner Gordon throughout, who remains true to his morals and his roots. Stephen, though, technical aspects and final thoughts on the movie before we round it up. Hans Zimmer score. This guy has just made a killing in the last 20, 30 years, but probably more recently, the last 10, 15 years. he's always, I keep saying it, I think he's the temp track on every action movie, and just every movie. They use the guy's scores because it just fits into every genre. So they use him in temp tracks before they actually get a composer in to score the movie. And it's because of things like
John,
this. He's just got a knack for this action style movie. He knows how to do it right.
It's a knack, John. It's there is a talent there with being able to sense the tone of a film without actually seeing the sort of final and finished product of a film. Hans Zimmer can do that. His score overall, throughout the trilogy, is so consistent. And adds a dark layer to the films as well. He's you talk about, it's a cliche, but you talk about the score being a character itself. It certainly is when it's his work. It adds this atmosphere to the film. It's a very hard thing to describe, but there's something about
it's never ending, building crescendo, like the Joker theme I call it. It's just
and it's subtle as well. I think there's very much like Star Wars and John Williams. There's scores in there that are continuously through scenes that you don't notice. You're that sort of engrossed in what's happening in the film, you don't realise it. And I don't mean that in a negative way, that you don't realise. It just becomes natural, it becomes part of the film, it becomes part of the scene as well. And it's the same with Hans Zimmer, in this trilogy. Certainly in this film, it's a real standout, and it really just adds another layer to the film.
Yeah, Steve, final thoughts on this movie though, and its legacy. This movie's probably changed the game for a number of action movies that came after it. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. One of the best comic book movies of all time. For Nolan now, you look at the guy's career, he's never made a bad movie.
No.
It's all the more remarkable that he actually did risk his career making Batman movies.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he did, because this one is just absolutely fantastic.
I used to go on message boards back in 2008 when that was a thing, before obviously Facebook was really where it was, and Twitter, etc., Instagram, and message boards were the place to go, and I had a conversation with someone saying that, talking about the third instalment and things like that, and I said I don't think they need one. I think this works well as a two film, story, and if it ended there, it would have been perfect, because I never thought, and I think in hindsight now I'm right. They're never going to be able to match, and they're never going to be able to top it. So the only other thing they can really do is just conclude everybody's arc, which they kind of did with The Dark Knight Rises. But even that title I didn't like. It kind of took some of the shine off the actual title of The Dark Knight. Yeah. But there's just something about this film, John. Yeah, you're right. Its legacy, it's very important. Especially with the Academy. Yeah. It really did open up the doors for the genre to be taken more serious. And it was very important. I think Christopher Nolan has done such an amazing job in turning a lot of heads with this genre. You've got to remember that. We're big Marvel fans. We're not Marvel or DC. We're big Marvel and DC fans. And the way he handled this character, the way he handled the world of Batman as well, certainly in this film, without making it look daft, campy, theatrical. Well, it's theatrical for the right reasons, for the real reasons. This film is it's in my top 5 of all time great films.
Yeah, Stephen, look, I absolutely love it. I think it's absolutely magnificent. Performances, cinematography, action, everything is just getting nuanced. There's themes getting explored. It's just absolutely superb. But look, guys, what is your thoughts on The Dark Knight? Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? How the hell can you not see The Dark Knight? But if you have seen it, you want to share your thoughts down below, you can certainly do so down in the comment section. Tell us what your thoughts are on this movie, on the performances, everything, Hans Zimmer's score. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And if you do, then you will see us tomorrow for our review of Die Hard.